So I'm not sure what a peace deal looks like, but I know what this looks like. Trump, 1 year later, a red tie gala. Get your tickets at WIBC.com. January 24th, 2026. It's going to be an absolutely incredible evening of bourbon, of laughs. You're going to learn. You're going to fall in love. Might make a baby. I don't know. I'm not here to decide. Trump, 1 year later, a red tie gala, WIBC.com. Get your tickets. Guys, good to be with you. Tony Katz today. The show is about to begin, and we'll talk about this kind of peace deal thing. Oh, it's the La Aurora, Cameroon. Nice stick for the morning. Let's go, Landon. Chances are you're not going to like the peace deal. What does that have to do with anything? This weird argument of what a terrible deal. I get it. I agree. We understand with whom we deal, right? Oh, I don't mean President Trump. I mean Vladimir Putin. I mean Vladimir Zelensky. What is it that you thought was going to take place? That's the question before us. Tony Katz today. That's the name of the show. Good to be with you. Find everything at TonyKatz.com. The possibility of a peace deal. More and more, you realize something that we said here was absolutely true and in every way true. The two rules of Trumpism remain. The first rule of Trumpism is that Trump wins. The second rule of Trumpism is that a deal can always be made as long as it adheres to the first rule of Trumpism. Ladies and gentlemen, that's this deal. A deal that would see Russia get more land than they may have right now. Get control of the Donbass. Yes, these areas are ethnically Russian, but that's not the story. They're getting rewarded for an invasion as opposed to being pushed back. Since when does America not push back? Since maybe it can't afford it? Financially can't afford it? Doesn't have the will to do it? As a matter of foreign policy, it no longer sees these things in the same way. Maybe some problems are to be left to Europe. That isn't my view. I want to be clear about that. That is absolutely not my view. We're not talking about my view. We're talking about what is. My view, you better be willing to hit Vladimir Putin hard. And this was always my argument to the political left. This is my argument also to the political right. If you're unhappy with this deal, if it gives Vladimir Putin too much, if it allows Putin to get too much land, if it rewards too much, I'll agree with you. Now what? Are you willing? I said this to Democrats then. Are you willing to walk into Moscow, walk into wherever it is Putin's place is, residence is, and slit his throat? What? How else does this end if you're not willing to do that? The show of force? What force are you talking about? How much force? And the force where? On the other side of the river in Kyiv? Or in Moscow itself as you start tearing down major structures in Red Square? What's your plan? This was my question for the Democrats. Every time they said, you're not giving Ukraine this, and you're not giving Ukraine that, and you're not giving Zelensky this, you're not giving Zelensky that. You want to end the Russian threat? Declare war on Russia. Let's go to work. Now, I don't know how you declare war on Russia when they didn't declare war on us. But if your plan is support Ukraine at all costs, well, then let's go. But you didn't do that. And I don't hear conservatives calling for that now. Once that's off the table, can I ask, what deal did you think you were going to get? Are we grown-ups or not? Are we dealing in the same reality or not? The reality is Russia's right there. They got a crap load of people. They do have guns. They do have nuclear weapons, and they can outlast the Ukrainians, and they can lead to tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of more deaths. What's your plan? Trump's plan was win. If you could say anything about the guy, you could at least say you know what his plan is. I'm going to end this thing in a day. Well, it did not end in a day. He's even said a little trickier than I thought. Okay. Maybe a little trickier than you thought. I get it. Trump does not care how this wins. Trump does not care how this ends. It just has to stop. So he can say, I stopped it. And then if it starts again, he can say, well, they didn't listen. Because that's where we're at. That's what we're up against. Of course, this could start again. You have some level of deal on peace. Who says it's going to last for 6 months? Trust Vladimir Putin? We already know that that's a non-starter. But the objective is get the killing to stop. And if it stops for a day, Trump gets to say, look what I did. Stopped another war. If you're on the political left, you're like, oh, that's just talk. What was your plan? Keep throwing money at this? Keep throwing money at this? That gets us what? That gets us no stop? We just keep paying and keep paying and keep paying? We keep getting closer and closer to some level of involvement? Speaking of, where the heck is the NATO involvement? NATO is acting all tough. NATO was going to be purchasing our weapons, and they were going to use them. And I guess they changed their minds, which is not a conversation that is coming up. There's no part of any deal that allows Russia to benefit from their aggression that I like. I don't think it's a good idea. And I do think we should have been far more aggressive with the Russian threat. And I think that the people who made the claim of this isn't our war, this isn't our problem, were wrong, and they were always wrong. That would include Vice President Vance and a host of others. It was a bad idea. It was a bad play. I'm here now with the possibility of a deal on the horizon. Rand Paul, who always has a thing to say, in a conversation brought up Venezuela. Listen.
On the Republican side, a good solid majority still are of the neoconservative variety and do believe in intervention, but they've masked that and they've been clever. So Lindsey Graham has not changed his positions, but he's clever and he's become very close to the president, influences the president. Same with Marco Rubio. So the pending invasion or regime change war in Venezuela is hatched by those people. I actually think Trump is the one who is least likely to want to do these things, but he's surrounded by people who believe in regime change and are goading him on. I do think, though, that if he invades Venezuela or if he approves significant arms sales, which are really gifts to Ukraine, or more welfare to Ukraine, if he does either of those, the rift with Marjorie Greene will pale in comparison to what happens to his movement if he invades Venezuela or gives more money to Ukraine.
How does Ukraine connect to Venezuela, and how does it all connect to MAGA? Well, this gets heavy. Now, what I'm about to share is a theory that isn't mine, and that's okay. But I want to engage it because it has, I don't know if it has a perfect understanding of the situation, but certainly if we were to take a look at the globe as a chessboard, these pieces are in place for a specific reason. We have Donald Trump declaring Venezuela narco-terrorists. We have the taking out of these drug boats, to which I have no issue whatsoever. The idea that it's wrong to do, that somehow a due process is being violated. Are we saying that our intelligence is wrong? Our intelligence community is advised by Democrats not to listen to the president. Are we saying that the intelligence community's assessment that given to the president is incorrect? Are we saying that there's no intelligence whatsoever that these are indeed drug boats? Is there no intelligence to what's coming from Venezuela? Is there any intelligence that tells us that Nicolas Maduro won the election? No, it all tells us that he stole the election point blank. Not only do you take out the drug boats, you move the USS Gerald Ford into the Caribbean. This is the largest aircraft carrier we have. And then you bring in the support vehicles, destroyers, other things, support ships. You start talking about the AOR, the area of responsibility. Well, ain't that something? That's a real buildup. Why? There's a theory that goes as follows. Now, my add-on to this is that Trump really does hate war because he can't understand it. He can't comprehend it. Why would you fight with somebody when you could make money together? What's wrong with you people? I mean, that is the frontal lobe conversation of Trump. Why would you fight? You can make money together. Oh, wait, you're going to stop me from doing my thing? Well, then I'll fight you. Then I'll beat you like a dog, and then we'll do business together because it was never personal. It was only about me getting what I want. That's reality of Trump. I mean, if we're not going to be honest with each other, guys, who are we going to be honest with? There's a theory that what's happening is the world has changed and the money has changed. And it's not that there's anybody really close to our ability of growth, of strength, of capability. It's that there are other players who have money to spend. And we, as a nation, cannot afford to do all the things that we used to do in a world where we basically paid everybody to leave us alone or leave each other alone. What do you do at that moment? How do you engage at that moment? Well, you recognize that the Russians aren't going away, even though they're going to be a vassal state of China any moment. That's my take. And China isn't going away. And China is a genuine threat and the enemy. Yes, you have India and some other players, but let's be clear about who's doing the fighting here. Maybe you can't worry about everybody everywhere. Maybe you can't do all things in all places. Maybe the days post-Marshall Plan, where you're able to engage this idea of American influence, isn't as possible as it once was. Economically, it just cannot be done. What do? You at least take care of your own yard. And it's very possible that the United States has made a decision that own yard is the Western Hemisphere. We're going to take care of ours, and they're going to do whatever it is they do with theirs, and we hope it all works out for the best. And that's why when you take a look at the buildup in the Caribbean, that's why when you see this immediate push for a peace deal that has Ukraine giving up more land than was taken, and a real push on Ukraine to do so. It was Zelensky who said, we either have, we can have the United States on our side, but we lose our dignity. Knowing that he doesn't have the cards and this is over, and that Russia could reinvade in 3 years or 3 months. That philosophy is possible. That the United States, on a very, very macro level, large overlook level, has taken a look at the field and said, we need to be protective of this area, of our things, of this place. The other stuff we cannot do, we cannot help. And we need to get our own world, our own ship, our own place in better order. I'm not saying I agree with it. I'm saying it is an interesting concept. It doesn't change certain things, like the selling of the F-35s and the Abrams tanks to Saudi Arabia. Why would you do such a thing? Because from there, you have what a friend of mine described as making it a very, very large land aircraft carrier. We know how to use all that weaponry. We built those weaponry. We trained on that weaponry. It's our stuff. We send our boys over, bloop, they fly. What about the women? Could we all just settle down and not be freaks for a second? You know what I meant? Move on. We do have allies in places, and we do want to have forward positioning in places. But that's the story about Venezuela. As to Rand Paul's point of if we invade Venezuela, if we give money to Ukraine, I don't know about an invasion of Venezuela. But money to Ukraine, well, more support's going to go to Ukraine for sure. And I don't know if that breaks up MAGA at all. No, I don't think they'll like it. But I wonder if they'll go with Trump if he starts discussing this new reality. Something to listen for. I'm Tony Katz. This is Tony Katz Today. That's weird. Just lost the whole camera right there. Boom. That was super weird. Guys, welcome back. Tony Katz. Tony Katz Today. Good to be with you. Rand Paul, I think, is a little more engaging in a threat right there than anything else. But this theory about Venezuela is quite interesting. And I saw the one and only Willie Lawson. Good Lord, from the original days in Tampa where I was messing around with this kind of stuff. Messing around with do I want to get into radio? Good gosh, man. Good to see you. Good to hear your voice. Good man. Good dude. Wow. That is, it has been a lot of years. That's been a lot of years. I knew nothing. I knew absolutely, positively nothing. I was trying some stuff, doing some stuff, paying my own way, and God almighty. Yeah, come on. It's come away, Willie. It has come away. You and Chris Fritcher and good gosh. Let me just say for the record, I do not know everything. But I have figured out how to smoke on air and get paid for it. So that's a win. That's a genuine win right there. I'm glad you're here. I got to get back to the show. Good to see you, man. Right on. Happy Thanksgiving. That is awesome. A review of all refugees admitted under Joe Biden. Hot damn. Count me in. Tony Katz Today. Guys, good to be here. Good to be with you. Trump administration. This, according to the good people in Newsmax, where I'm on this evening. I'm on with Carl Higbee. Looking forward to that. That's 6:20 p.m. Eastern. Well, depending on when you get the show. Otherwise, you have to go back and check the archives, but I'll put it up on my YouTube page, youtube.com/Tony Katz. Not YouTube page, YouTube channel. Wow. That's like when you call it the interwebs. That was a very, very old sounding thing right there. The Trump administration is going to take a look at all of them. The review, according to critics, would sow confusion and fear among the 200,000 people who fled war and persecution to come to the U.S. during that period. Here's my answer. Okay. You want to be confused and you want to be scared? Well, that's your problem. We need to know who came to the country and whether or not they're here legally and whether or not they're here properly and whether or not they're the kind of people who should be allowed into the United States. Because Joe Biden was incompetent and some other group of people was running the country, not him. And Lord only knows what they did, these unelected bureaucrat freaks who think that somehow they should be in charge and you should suffer by their word. No. We should check everything. The argument is that expediency and quantity was prioritized over detailed screening and vetting, warranting the comprehensive review and re-interview of all refugees admitted from January 20th, 2021 to February 20th, 2025. As the chat is asking, is there anything under Joe Biden that shouldn't be under review? And the answer is no, not at all. To think that this is something you can argue against, the idea that somehow everybody who you've let into the country is perfect. This goes back, of course, to this argument that the political left believes that the new Colossus, the poem underneath the Statue of Liberty, give me your tired, your poor, your huddled masses yearning to breathe free, that is somehow policy. It is not. Give me your tired, you're poor, you're huddled masses yearning to breathe free. I think it is very important, but let's also make sure they don't hate the country and are trying to destroy it. Let's make sure they're not Islamists. Let's make sure they're not communists. Where does it say, oh, and don't have a standard? It is a radically pathetic position. And the left loves to push this, but rational people know better. It is okay to say, wait a second, maybe they don't belong. You know, I get to meet a bunch of people. I know a bunch of people. You know what I've determined? Some people don't get to know where I live. I think that's good policy. There are some people, if I'm out having a cigar, it's good to see them. No, they can't come to my house. I don't know you. Don't you think we should know the people coming to our house? Don't you think we should know the people who we're now being told, hey, you have to pay for? Haven't we seen enough that some people simply can't be trusted? They're just liars. They're frauds, whether that be them lying to get into the country or lying because that's a part of their political or religious movement. The idea that we shouldn't check, double check, and recheck is laughable. Get on it, President Trump. This is a great example of, there are plenty of things I think not going as well as they should, and some things going just flat out wrong. There are things going right. It's worth noticing. Keep it here. I'm Tony Katz. This is Tony Katz Today. Oh, my, oh, my, oh, my. So this is the La Aurora, Cameroon. I think they call it the 1903. Right there. Right there it is. I'm a sucker for a Cameroon rapper. Now, this one doesn't play like other Cameroons. There is a much bigger spice that comes on this one. And lately, I find myself smoking spicier cigars. I'm not 100% sure why. It's not where I live and breathe. I like things that are richer, things that have a little earthier, a little tobacco forward. I like that chocolatey kind of feel. But this has been nice. This has been a nice piece. Senator Todd Young scheduled to be with us coming up in the top of the next hour. I'll handle that from my side, producer Landon. I'll make that happen right here. So that's going to go on. Not only his thoughts on this Ukraine deal, because I think he's a guy who's his natural inclination is going to be, we should have pushed these Russians back. I'm curious what the realist is going to say and whether or not that guy's going to come out. Oddly enough, Todd Young is, I think, a pretty divisive figure in Indiana. There's a lot of love-hate. I've never minded the guy at all. We've had some disagreements. We've had some moments where, you got to treat me better than that. And honestly, I think he has. I think he's kind of seen that, and it's been good. It's been solid. So I look forward to that. We now have word that Zelensky seems to be okay with the peace deal, so we'll get that happening. We'll get to that story. And in addition, Todd Young, he's got a piece of legislation. I didn't know this, but it's one of those things, if you're not in it, how would you have thought about it? He's got a piece of legislation with Senator Langford of Oklahoma. And the legislation is about not forcing med students to learn how to perform abortions. It is to protect medical students and residents from being coerced into abortion training that conflicts with their moral or religious beliefs. It didn't dawn on me. It didn't dawn on me at all that would be part of a training for med students. Not a doctor, wasn't in med school. I never considered it. It's like, and once you hear it, you're like, well, yeah, that's a pretty gross thing to do. That's pretty ugly indeed. Of course that's happening. Like, once you start going down that road. So with that, we're going to speak to Todd Young about this. William Jacobson, Cornell law professor. I've got that interview to share with you. I spoke to him a little bit earlier. Let me see if I've got that right where I need that. Do a little test run of what that's going to look like. I do believe we're not giving enough credit to Elon. See? That's what it's going to look like. Fancy. Fancy indeed. Let's get back to the radio show here, and we'll go from there. Don't forget on YouTube, be sure to subscribe. Well, Laura, what other opinions do you have?
The turkeys being pardoned today go by the names of Gobble and Waddle. When I first saw their pictures, I thought we should send them, I shouldn't say this. I was going to call them Chuck and Nancy. But then I realized I wouldn't be pardoning them. I would never pardon those two people. I wouldn't pardon them. I wouldn't care what Melania told me. Darling, I think it would be a nice thing to do. I won't do it, darling.
Good gosh. There's never a moment where there isn't an opportunity for Trump to be totally Trump. Tony Katz today. Guys, good to be here. Good to be with you. Find it all at TonyKatz.com. Yes, the turkeys were pardoned for their crimes against humanity. And for those of you who are going to make a turkey this year, I will say to you, enjoy. Those of us who understand that Thanksgiving should be enjoyed are making a brisket. I said it. I meant it. I'm not apologizing for it. By the way, we will have a brisket and a turkey on the table. That's going to happen. The word on the street is that Kyiv is ready to proceed with the peace plan. Vladimir Zelensky stating that Kyiv is ready to move forward with the U.S.-backed peace deal and that he's prepared to discuss the sensitive points with Trump in talks that he says should involve the Europeans. There was a copy of this speech that was seen allegedly by Reuters. Zelensky urging European leaders to hash out a framework for deploying a reassurance force to Ukraine and to continue supporting Kyiv for as long as Moscow shows no willingness to end its war. You mean a peacekeeping force? A reassurance force? Okay, we'll have peace, but just to make sure, here's all this American hardware run by NATO, which now that's back on the table. Yeah, maybe the talks of a peace deal are a little too early in the offing. Right there. Just one man's theory. Then there was this. This was Kevin McCarthy, the former Speaker of the House. Now, a bit of full disclosure. I will say again, for the people in the cheap seats, that absolutely, positively, nothing at all, nothing was gained by getting rid of him as Speaker of the House. I don't mind Mike Johnson, although there's a conversation that's growing about the morale of Republicans and the possibility not of defections, not becoming Democrats, of people just saying, bah, Felicia, I'm done, I'm gone, I'm out, I'm resigning. This is what Kevin McCarthy brought up with Jesse Waters on Fox News.
What happened, by the way, with MTG? She's leaving Congress? She's leaving Congress, but I don't think that's the end that you'll see about her. And I think, look, I've always believed that any time you have an elected official that's known by three initials, they're effective on what they do. And I found Marjorie to be very effective, but she's almost like a canary in a coal mine. And this is something inside Congress they better wake up, because they're going to get a lot of people retiring and they got to focus. I think keeping members out of Congress, you only get 2 years to be in the majority. And if the Democrats get you not to work every day for 2 months, that's losing 2 months of the
A point to be taken for sure. A couple months where you didn't get to do any of your work. I think that not caving to them was also very valuable, and I think that a sacrifice gets made for the other thing. But maybe the idea of no work actually happening is better off for the country to begin with, considering some of the work is just no good. But it's this idea of other retirements coming, canary in the coal mine. This idea that there's a lot of misery, there's a lot of unhappiness going on in the House, possibly on both sides. And one of the conversations is that Trump is not doing enough on the Republican side to help Republicans. He's saying, you do what I tell you to do. You do what I want you to do. You do how I want you to do it. Otherwise, you're the enemy. I'll beat you up. That policy certainly can rub people the wrong way. That policy certainly can become tiresome. I don't know if I believe that a large-scale spate of retirements is coming. We've seen some Democrats walk away. If Marjorie Taylor Greene is a different beast, is a different rationale, including some very interesting information I learned from Ed Morrissey over at hotair.com. A story about how Marjorie Taylor Greene wanted to grow her opportunities into other positions in Georgia, and the data simply didn't back her up, to which the White House had to remind her of. But who are the Republicans who are now going to engage you know what? This was fun, but we're going to get walloped in the midterms, and I don't want to be a part of it, so I'm just going to leave now. I don't necessarily believe. I don't have anything that shows me for sure that Republicans are going to lose in the midterms. I know what the standard situation is. The party in power loses seats. That's standard, right? That's the standard flow of things. I don't know if that's going to be true here, because one of the arguments that has to be made is that people see the Democrats as capable, competent, valuable, good. That isn't true. That isn't the case. This is also seen in the conversation regarding Senator Mark Kelly, the senator from Arizona, who was part of that despicable video. That despicable video saying that you should not listen to orders from the president. Now, some will argue they didn't say that. They were just reminding the military that they shouldn't follow illegal orders, that you're not allowed to follow illegal orders. That's what they said. What they were saying is Trump gives illegal orders. Do not follow orders from President Trump. This is what they were saying. And every rational person knows that, is aware of that. This is David Frum. Remember when they used to call him a conservative? That was adorable. This is David Frum trying to make an argument.
Of Defense, the Department of Defense. It did so because a few years before that, the United States had hanged a bunch of Japanese generals for the crime of waging offensive war and wanted to make clear that the United States would fight only in self-defense, according to the rules of international law that the United States had imposed on Japan and Nazi Germany. Every time that, in violation of act of Congress, the secretary makes up these titles for himself, Secretary of Partying, Secretary of War, whatever he calls himself, those are illegal orders too.
He never called himself the Secretary of Partying. President Trump wants to rename it the War Department, so he goes by Secretary of War. You could argue, certainly, but it's not the War Department, it's the Defense Department, and you need an act of Congress to change it back. But if that's your example of an illegal order, you're weird. That isn't what they were saying, and we all know it. All rational people know it. All the irrational people are in my Twitter feed. All the irrational people, follow me on Twitter X at Tony Katz. You'll see some nuttiness, and they're still doing it like they have an argument. Oh, they're so cute. And when I say cute, I mean virgins living in their mom's basement. But cute. No, not the cute kind of virgin living in their mom's basement, looking to find that right person to spend a life with. No, I mean the sad kind of virgin living in their mom's basement, where mom doesn't want them living in the basement, and they don't have any option but to live in the basement because the outside world is scary. Two on the nose? No? Yes? Right? We know what was said. This pushback has led to Pete Hegseth referring to these senators and these members of Congress as the seditious six, and that he is going to see if Senator Kelly can be recalled, because he's still active military, and possibly have him tried. People are infuriated about this. If you're going to recall him, you better be prepared to recall all of us. He can't recall all of you because that's not how the system works. There are some people who are upset about this. You're focusing on the wrong things. We should be focusing on affordability. I believe you can do two things at the same time, and I don't disagree that the White House, as we have been discussing here, as I said on Sean Spicer's show, and by the way, I got the ire of Steve Bannon, which of course means nothing. And then I got the ire from what I'm hearing of Scott Bessent. I don't want his ire. I'm telling you, you're the guy. You're the smartest guy in the room. You got to go make the case for our economic future. And by the way, he's been doing just that. I do not take credit for it, but he has been making the case now. He did it on the Sunday shows aggressively about inflation and about other economic issues and the time it's going to take to get things rolling. This is the argument that should have been happening in a much more concerted way, in a much more obvious way. There's some people arguing, why are you going after Mark Kelly? You go after Senator Kelly, all you're doing is raising his profile. He's already really popular in Arizona. Now you're going to make him a presidential contender. This is a misread of the situation. You called them the seditious six, which I think calling them the seditious six is silly, right? That was wrong of Secretary Hegseth. You have to treat this seriously. Don't name call it. You're not Trump. Don't play that game. This was a usurpation of your authority and of the authority of the chain of command. You better discuss it. And I don't mind you pushing on it. Just don't call it names. Don't give it catchy slogans. Stop that. Don't do that. Be the pro. But absolutely push back. And there's some people saying, well, you don't do that. You don't do that because you're raising his Q rating and you're going to make him more popular. Now he can be a presidential candidate. What are you going to do about that? That's old school Republican thinking. It's not conservative thinking. It's old school Republican thinking. Well, we better not do anything because, that could be bad. Oh, we better not respond because that could be bad for us. Oh, we better not do this because that could be bad for us. And then you end up with Bill Kristol. There's nothing wrong with pushing back. That guy tried to usurp the chain of command. That guy tried to usurp the commander-in-chief. That guy is trying to sow dissent in the military. And we don't put up with that crap from nobody, even if you've been in space. Your uniform-wearing days do not shield you from the reality of what you do today. And you will be dealt with accordingly. Sure, there's a political reality. There's always a political reality. But the idea of do nothing because you're just going to raise this guy's level, what this guy did was disgusting. So was same thing with Senator Alyssa Slotkin, same thing with Representative Goodlander, same thing with Representative Crow, and you have to expose it. And yes, if under the U.S. Unified Code of Military Justice, the UCMJ, I apologize, there are charges to be brought, it should be at least discussed. Not, let's not make them too angry. Enough of that old school crap. I could be a conservative, which I am, and know that that's a bad idea. I'm Tony Katz. Welcome back, guys. Tony Katz. Tony Katz today. I got a text from somebody saying, hey, how can I be a sponsor of Trump 1 year later, a red tie gala? That's January 24th, 2026. Let me just write this to there. We can talk sponsorship later today. It's going to be incredible. The food, the bourbon, the laughs, the love. I swear to you, babies might be made. That's the kind of good night it's going to be. Trump, 1 year later, a red tie gala, the highs, the lows, how this all flows in to the midterms. I will have it all for you. Things you have forgotten. I cannot wait to bring it. Cannot wait to bring it to you January 24th, 2026. So be part of that and part of what's bringing it to you. Oh, look at that. Flederman von Riest. Incredible, incredible timepieces. You are going to love. Perfect for Christmas. Just head over to shop.vonriest.com. Use promo code CATS and get your discount. Shop.vonriest.com. And what am I wearing today? Where is it? Boom. What am I wearing? Oh, I'm wearing the Harborside turquoise. That's the Hanoverian right there. With the date, of course, the Harborside turquoise. Love it. Love it. Work with the black. Just a nice pop of color. But not fashion. So absolutely not fashion watches. That is not my style, not my speed. This is a little bit of character, a little bit of style in it, right? They have ones that'll be, those chronos that you just saw, those quartz chronographs, the full automatic chronograph, things like this. This is an automatic. What's your personality? What are you trying to do? What are you trying to, if I'm wearing the black here, this I think is a good piece of setup. I also could have worn the Black Bunchner, which is a Swiss mechanical movement, and also would have looked absolutely perfect. I would have been all sleek. Or is this sleek? And that one would have been all mysterious. Full Johnny Cash vibe, which is all I'm trying to go for anyway. All I'm trying to do is full Johnny Cash vibe. That is a handsome timepiece. They really did an absolutely beautiful job. And I've got some things coming in the spring. Can't wait to share it with you. And thank you, Tony. Getting the ticket. Go to WIBC.com and you can get yours. And come join us on January 26th. Come on out. It's going to be a good time. Incredible time. Can't wait. Coming back to the show. Oh, what should I talk about? A great story from hotair.com. Tony Katz today. They actually got the story from over there at Reason. You guys know that I have absolute libertarian leanings. I'm not a libertarian for a lot of foreign policy reasons, but I don't think libertarians are bad. Some people have a real issue with libertarians. I've never understood it. I'm not there on the foreign policy stuff on quite a few things, but on a rational point of view, on economic smartness, I think there's a lot of value there. But Reason takes a note that homeschooling has grown. Homeschooling has grown across the U.S., increasing at an average rate of 5.4%. This according to Angela Watson of the Johns Hopkins University School of Education's Homeschool Hub. That is fantastic. The rate is 3 times the pre-pandemic homeschooling growth rate of around 2%. So 2.5 times, really. Good. Now, it's not that homeschooling is for everybody. It's not easy. It's easier now. So many more materials and guides and helpfulness exists out there. But what I'm hoping this leads to is a total destruction of the public school system as is, that people like Randy Weingarten are out of a job, that unions are ruined. And we start building an education system of value. And what Trump is doing with Linda McMahon and putting an end to the Department of Education, freaking-vo. Love it. This is Tony Katz today. Oh, I didn't know that, Brad. I did not know you did that. That, by the way, is Brad. And Brad does all my videography and photography and did the lighting here in the studio. Although I changed some of the lighting, and one of the reasons you have to come by, because I'm pretty sure it sucks. But he did all this. When the cameras were like working, but not working perfectly, it's Brad who set everything up. I did not know you did that, man. I had no idea. Very, very cool. Guys, we are in a commercial break. So we're going to take the break. I will then be back. We have Senator Todd Young scheduled to be with us. Looking forward to that conversation. I don't think we have any announcements from the White House on peace deals. That will probably come on Thanksgiving. I think that's what they want to do. That's what they want to do. We will see. So we're in break. You guys can be in break. Smoke them if you got them. You know I will. Kick back, relax. We'll be back in a few. Stay right here. Welcome back, Tony Katz. Tony Katz today. Good to be here. Good to be with you. I'm expecting the call from Senator Todd Young any moment, and I will bring that to you. I'm Tony Katz, as I said. The show is Tony Katz today. And not only Senator Young, I've got William Jacobson later. Some very interesting transparency going on over there on X. And Elon deserves a lot of credit for really making that platform a place that, well, actually wants to have a value. As for the people on it, a lot of lying, low-life scumbags. I'm sorry, is there another term for them? Should I be using the Latin? Just the absolute worst. So when he calls in, I will make that happen for you. There are some very, very interesting comments going on in the chat, which I will not dignify. I put the link in for the tickets. Oh, it's going to be so good. It's going to be so very, very good. Let's see. Good. Sorry, just putting it all together with the best of my ability. Making sure everything's good to go. Let's see what now I did miss on the comments right here. Will Tony be dressed like Trump for the event? It's this event right here. Where is it? Did I just miss a phone call? Yes, I did just miss a phone call. Let's see if I can bring this in right here. Hate making that mistake. Let's see. Let's see if I missed this again. Look at that. You're going to hear it.
Call from
Todd Young.
Senator Young, you're on the live stream with me, not on the radio just yet. So if you would, sir, please don't curse.
Okay, I'll try and refrain, at least for the time being. How you been, man?
I'm good. I am very good. World is moving quick today. I want your legislation, this thing about the abortion training is fascinating. It had never dawned on me. So I want to know how that comes to your desk. The show will start in about 20 seconds and we'll get into it. But with all that's happening on the Ukraine deal, you and I have spoken extensively about the Houthi rebels and a host of things. So I want to get your thoughts there. So the introduction is going to come up real quick. I'll bring you in and we'll go forward.
All right, buddy. Thanks.
I look forward to it. That's Senator Todd Young right there. So is there a peace deal between Russia and Ukraine? Well, maybe not yet, but maybe it's in the offing. Is it a deal for Ukraine, and is it the best deal for the United States? And something happening with med school training I don't know if anybody knew about, but Senator Todd Young is trying to bring it to everybody's attention. Tony Katz. Tony Katz today. Good to be with you. Senator Todd Young joins me right now on the phone, Republican senator from the state of Indiana. I want to get to this legislation that you're introducing about protecting medical students and residents from being coerced into abortion training, how that might conflict with their moral or religious beliefs. But before we do that, these reports of a possible peace deal with Russia and Ukraine, which would involve ostensibly Ukraine giving up more land than Russia's already taken. It doesn't make Ukraine a NATO nation, but it would make it kind of, I don't know, NATO adjacent, if you will. From what you know, what can you tell us if you know anything more? And what do you think of the possibility of a deal here?
Well, thanks for having me on, Tony. We're all watching this situation in Ukraine and throughout Europe as they hold negotiations about the future of Ukraine and the Russia-Ukraine war. We're watching it pretty intently. I've got to say, Marco Rubio, Secretary Driscoll, who is our Army Secretary, and the President himself, they're working very hard to make sure we get a just and peaceful resolution to this war. It's horrible. It's been an absolute bloodletting, and it's just obviously not good for anyone. So I have been vocal, through social media and interviews and all the rest, that any peace deal has to be a good peace deal. Otherwise, it's a surrender. And what does a good peace deal look like? Well, it should not limit the size of Ukraine's armed forces, because we want Ukraine to deter any further aggression, and it should not deter Ukraine from being a viable, independent nation in the future, controlling its own future. So that should reserve to the Ukrainian people, through their government, the ability to dictate what their future relationship to other European neighbors looks like. That should not be something that Vladimir Putin gets to dictate in the terms of an agreement. So I hope that we can, at this point in the conflict, which has turned into really a stalemate now for a number of years, I hope we can get some sort of agreement that it will not include the provisions I've had, but will bring this horrible fighting to a close, so that the Ukrainian people can resume, economic growth and prosperity and peace, and Vladimir Putin will go back to, being the leader of his country and not meddling in his, what he likes to call, near abroad, the countries of Europe just outside of his borders.
Is this a deal that is pro-America? Is this a deal that is, dear Lord, the best we can do is just stop the killing because we don't have the resolve, the dollars, or the hardware to push Vladimir Putin all the way back? Is there anything that's going to be seen in this from your colleagues as we're wimping out here? We're not doing enough. We're not pushing hard enough to stop Vladimir Putin and not reward this kind of naked aggression.
Well, the original terms of the 28 points of this agreement were, they began the conversation. And I think the Ukrainian government, Zelensky, appropriately said that there are some points here that would undermine our sovereignty, our security, our future prosperity, and he couldn't live with them. Now we're down to, I think the number is 19 points that are more acceptable. And it's in the ball's in the court of Vladimir Putin to see whether or not he can accommodate himself, make some moves in terms of the negotiation to bring this horrible war, which he started, to an end. And he hasn't done so. In fact, he's doubling down on his position and being stubborn. So what's in it for the American people? Well, the American people need to understand that since this war began, there's been a real bloodletting, not just on both sides, but especially with respect to our adversary, Russia. In fact, Russia's casualties in this war have exceeded America's deaths in World War II. So there are a lot of Russians dying in this war. And because Russia is our adversary, that would, though kind of horrible to talk in these terms, that is geopolitically to the advantage of the United States. Russia has also not been advancing. There's a perception that's been created by some, I think, in the media, not you, of course, that the Russians are on the march. Well, since really, for the last couple of years, the Russian forces have seized just over 1% of additional Ukrainian territory. That's not obviously a lot. It's basically a standstill. Now, all the while, one of our primary adversaries, again, Russia, which is in alliance with China, their economy is precarious. They're basically bootstrapping their entire economy in oil sales to the Chinese and Indians and some to the Europeans. And so there's real pressure. I think that we have the ability to apply a lot more pressure on Russia to offer concessions at the negotiating table if they don't do so now. And I know Secretary Rubio understands that. We can sanction not just Russia itself, but any country that will trade oil with Russia if they don't agree to give the Ukrainians peace and to respect their sovereignty. So that's where we are. That's frankly what a good outcome looks like, is to see Putin start to move towards the American position that we are now representing, the 19 points. And it's unclear if he will. It's unclear if Vladimir Putin can bring himself to create an environment of peace. And, I will say that the president he's very good at using whatever leverage he has in negotiations. He's trying to get the Europeans to step up, support more of the resourcing given to the Ukrainian freedom fighters, and he's having some success there. So the Europeans are also involved in this chess game. And I know the president wants peace. I want peace, but it has to be a very good negotiation, so that it's a peace worthy of its name.
Talking to Senator Todd Young, Republican senator from Indiana. Yet Russia continues to be obstinate, and Russia certainly did not bring itself to the table. It's continued to act with impunity. There's always the concern that Russia doesn't care, because eventually it's going to be the vassal state of China anyway, where that's where its money comes from, and therefore that's who it does the bidding of. But we put that to the side just for a moment. This legislation that you have sponsored with Senator James Lankford, I said Mark Lankford earlier, I apologize, Senator James Lankford of Oklahoma, about protecting medical students. I did not know that all medical students have to go through some level of abortion training.
Yep.
There are abilities already to opt out. So you call this the Conscious Protections for Medical Residents Act. How did this come to your desk, and what is the hope here?
Yeah, so James Lankford, my colleague from Oklahoma, and I are both members of pro-life caucus within the U.S. Senate. We work with stakeholders who bring us changes in the law they would like to see in order to advance the pro-life cause. So that's how this came to our attention. And James has shown, by the way, great leadership on this, and it's great to work with him. I don't think most Americans understand that if you have a moral, not just reservation, but an outright objection to abortion, you are still required, in order to be accredited as a doctor, as an OB/GYN, you're required to receive abortion training. You can opt out, but then there's pressure on the student. They're wondering whether it's going to adversely impact their evaluations, their recommendations, their future career opportunities. And so that sort of pressure should not exist, and perhaps persuade some people to contradict their values in order to be a medical doctor. So we want to change. We want to flip the script, as it were, and make sure that the default position is no one who does this has to, who pursues a doctor's certificate and wants to be accredited has to do abortion training. You can opt in, but you're not required to opt out. The assumption should not be that everyone wants to learn how to do abortions. That should not be something that they have to undergo. So that's all we do is we change the default setting on abortion training in the United States of America.
We know
protecting life, not taking it.
We know how Democrats feel about abortion and how they believe it moves voters. What is the, you don't bring legislation unless you feel that there's a real opportunity for it to pass. What is the feeling, your feeling in the Senate of if this will pass, and if so, when?
It's interesting. I think this got a fighting chance, or as you indicate, we wouldn't bring it to the fore. We've gotten an amazing amount of feedback, positive feedback from constituents and really from people around the country encouraging this legislation to be brought through the committee and passed. I imagine my Democrat colleagues are hearing from these constituents as well. And I think there's an opportunity. Listen, Democrats just lost the last election very badly, and the American people were tired of their positions, particularly on social issues. They've just gone way outside of the mainstream, whatever one's views are on abortion. I think in this case, the vast majority of Americans will agree that a doctor who has moral objections to abortion shouldn't be trained in abortion. That shouldn't be the default position. So I think on account of the commonsensical nature of this and the feedback I've received so far, I think there's a good shot at this getting done. But we need to hear from our constituents. We need them to register their views to other members of Congress who haven't yet co-sponsored this legislation. My colleague Jim Banks has signed on. I want to thank him publicly for that, and just encourage Hoosiers who regard themselves as pro-life or even not pro-choice, but they don't think pro-life doctors should have to train in abortion, to register that view with their own members of Congress.
Senator Todd Young of Indiana, I appreciate you taking the time to be with us and to be here. Appreciate that. Go have a good Thanksgiving. More coming up. I'm Tony Katz. This is Tony Katz Today. And just like that, he disappeared. Yes, please, please do right there. I am annoyed that if I add it, I gotta figure something out. It's a little bit of tech stuff that I gotta figure out, but I appreciate him being here. Appreciate you guys being here as well. That's what I gotta do. Good stuff. Good things, man. Good things. God, Laura, you're so angry. So angry. I like Laura. Laura's good people. Yeah, I don't know. I don't feel that way. I don't know what to say. I don't know what to say. It's just not it. So I am on Newsmax this evening. That will be at, what time is that? 6:25 is when I will be on. And it will be very exciting. So I'm looking forward to that. And what else do I have? Oh, yes. The Secretary of Transportation given the warnings on air travel. That is certainly legit stuff. Oh, yeah, it's going to be a real issue. It's going to be a real issue. I have not discussed any Thanksgiving cigars this year. I just realized that. I did not discuss what to smoke. The problem is here in central Indiana, it's going to be 33 degrees and garbage out. My advice, immediately build a room you can smoke in. I mean, some people smoke in their house. I only know one person who on the regular smokes in their home. Most people don't do that. I built a studio to be able to do just that. I have smoked in my home before. Don't get me wrong. Let's not be ridiculous, right? Like, I am not a guy who believes in the concept of man cave. I find man cave to be amongst the most offensive and disgusting terms out there. I didn't, but hold on a second. This update from Florida, it's going to be 86 here today. Nobody asked you, Willie. Nobody. I used to live there. I remember. And now I live in Indianapolis, which has been unbelievable to me. Except for the weather, has been unbelievable to me for sure. I didn't buy a house so I could have some corner of the basement or a garage. So I bought a house. What do you mean I don't get to utilize my house? It's this weird kind of freaky, sexist thing. Well, the house is hers and you get this. Did I write a check? The whole house is mine. What are we talking crazy? At the very least, it's 50-50. I'll smoke in 50% of it. Am I the only person who thinks like this? And I never had that problem. Good marriage, as I said.
Big number. In regard to air travel, this is going to be the busiest Thanksgiving that we have on record. And I think you all might note that it seems like every Thanksgiving, every Christmas, every 4th of July seems to be an announcement of record travel. I'm going to come to that in a second. But this week there'll be 31 million passengers flying by air as we look to the week. That's per the airline industry. Tomorrow will be the busiest day. There'll be 52,000 flights tomorrow as Americans board aircraft, fly across the country. Maybe they're going to go to sporting events, they're going on vacation, or hopefully they're going to spend time with their families. Now, we anticipate there's going to be solid staffing in our towers and TRACONs and centers throughout the airspace. And that's different than what we had over the shutdown. But we do have some weather in the forecast. I'm not a weatherman, but if you look out to the Seattle area, in the Midwest, the Great Lakes, we are going to have some weather. And so if you are traveling by air, I would just ask that you stay in touch with your airline or update your apps so you know if your flight has been delayed or moved at all as you're planning to come to the airport.
That's the Transportation Secretary, Sean Duffy. Yes, travel is going to be rough over Thanksgiving. Certainly people heading home, it's going to be rough. And as a guy who lives in the Midwest, allow me to explain to you that the Thanksgiving weather is sizzling hot garbage. It's on a scale of one to Nancy Pelosi. Honestly, I could have picked anybody for the scale. I picked Nancy Pelosi. On a scale of 1 to Jasmine Crockett, on a scale of 1 to Jasmine Crockett, this is 2 fake eyelashes. Is that 2? Is that no? Really? I can't say. So is it racist or is it sexist? Can I get a ruling on that? Can someone get back to me? Okay. All I know is my mother flew in yesterday. My mother is here. My mother is just footsteps away. She's not in the studio. My mother's footsteps away. My mother has been sick, and it's been a rough few years, and she had not feeling well. She's actually in the hospital for a few days, And then she needs to get some strength back. She was in rehab for a few days, not that kind of rehab for a few days. And she yesterday, she checked herself out. And she's like, I'm going to see my son and my grandkids. Bye. And they're like, well, really what you should, she's like, did I say I'm leaving? And this woman arranged the ride, grabbed some stuff, got on a plane. 78. Now, you know there are some 78-year-olds in absolutely perfect health. My mother is not that woman. But I can't believe, I could not believe it. But for her, because she's supposed to go back over the weekend, I'm looking at the weather, and there might be some real snow, there might be possibility of snow, things might get delayed. I'm like, all right, she might be here a couple more days. That's very possible. Anybody who's looking to the Midwest of flying out the weekend after, that's good. That could get difficult. And the only thing I'm going to suggest is don't get worked up. Don't get angry. You know it now. It's not like you got to the airport, you got to the gate, and they said, hey, we decided to cancel the flight because we hate you. That's not going on. I mean, it could be, but it's not happening. So have a plan, right? Have a kind of relaxed attitude about it all, because people, I love this move on flying. Hey, stop wearing pajamas, which I take complete and full credit for. I take total credit for this move of the transportation secretary to say, stop wearing pajamas, dress properly on a plane. I've been saying it for years. I wear a suit on a plane. I do it all the time. People laugh at me. I was right. You got to have some respect for yourself and respect for others. That's the way it works. You wear a suit on a plane. Oh, but I like to be comfortable. Then stay at home. Nobody wants to see your gnarly feet anyway. And you know those yoga pants you wear? Hate to break it to you. You weren't built for yoga pants. Go to the airport being calm, cool, and collected. Understand that things may not go great. Understand there could be delays. Think about it now. Don't get nutty. Meanwhile, X has changed some rules, and now we see who the fraudsters are. And oh, there are many fraudsters. I'm Tony Katz, and this is Tony Katz Today. There it is. Did I mention I need a director? Tony Katz. Good to be with you. So I spoke earlier with William Jacobson, Cornell law professor, legalinsurrection.com, about two things. First, that this Comey case that got dismissed. Never mind the intricacies of the case, but rather, what in the world are we dealing with Attorney General Bondi? Like what's with the failure here? Is there a problem inside the office? That's my question. And then the changes to Twitter X, what Elon Musk has done in bringing transparency, and now you get to see for yourself the level of frauds. If you trust some so-called influencer on the socials, dear Lord, are you making a mistake? So I have got that story for everyone. So that is coming up right now with William Jacobson. I'm glad you guys are here. Appreciate it. I do believe we're not giving enough credit to Elon Musk. And I think the people who wanted to push him to the side when he had his little row with President Trump are making a huge, huge mistake, because every day it seems we get a little closer to realizing how much garbage is in our social media feeds and who is selling us the garbage. Tony Katz today. Good to be with you. William Jacobson joins me right now, Cornell law professor, the mind behind legalinsurrection.com. I want to get to the story about this new tool on X, the fake accounts, really how it has affected this war regarding Hamas and Israel and how it lied to millions and millions of people around the globe. But before I do, we saw the cases against James Comey and Letitia James kicked out by a judge. The argument being that, especially in the James Comey case, that the prosecutor was put in place was not properly put in place. This Lindsay Halligan. There's been a lot of issues about this, and therefore, if there's no real prosecutor, there's no real person in place, there's no real case to be brought here. I don't want to get into the case, the details of the Comey case, but rather get into the details or the thoughts about the Pam Bondi Justice Department. I had high hopes for her. I don't think she's living up to the high hopes. Is this more AG incompetence as you see it?
Yeah, well, I wouldn't sweep her away completely, but this is an example of a judge finding that the federal government improperly exercised their right to have an interim appointment. So basically, the gist of the decision, without getting into the specific wording, is that the statute that authorizes the appointment of interim United States attorneys only allows you to do that once. It does not allow successive interim appointments, that after you've done it once and 120 days has passed, then you have the decision to be made by the district court, the judges. And so here, the judge is asserting they messed up that procedure. I don't know if they did or they didn't. It has to do with statutory reading and things like that. But the issue is, if there had been multiple prosecutors, for example, participating in the presentation of the indictment, this would be a non-issue. But because the government chose to only use one prosecutor before the grand jury and one prosecutor to certify the indictment, and that prosecutor is the one in question they're saying was unlawfully appointed, that's where we are. But if they had multiple prosecutors participating, this wouldn't even be an issue. So I think you can say this is another example of arguably the Trump administration perhaps not dotting the I's and crossing the T's, perhaps not backstopping them with alternatives. This was an entirely predictable problem. So I think this really calls into question, how much attention to detail are they spending?
I mean, that is just it. Is the Attorney General Pam Bondi doing her job? You said, don't sweep her away altogether. I feel often that I'm not seeing results, and what I'm seeing is just not a really clean professional message and professional placement of the work. I think that's the way I'm viewing it. And I think a lot of others.
Yeah, well, results sometimes take time. So I'm less critical of her. I'm less critical of the FBI. Everybody's complaining about Kash Patel and Dan Bongino, who I like a lot. I'm not as worried. Things take time, particularly since we have met a really unprecedented level of obstruction by the Democrats and by the district courts. Now, I'm not saying this decision was improper by the district court judge. I did read the decision, and the judge went through the statutory interpretation, but we have had many decisions from district court judges around the country which read like political manifestos, which read like a campaign speech. And so it's been a problem. Also, there's been a problem getting U.S. attorneys confirmed by the Senate. And that why has the Trump administration not forced that through? Why haven't Republicans in the Congress, in the Senate, forced that through? We're in this predicament because the Democrats have been successful in obstructing Trump's ability to get his people into place, which is the only reason you needed successive interim appointments, which created this whole problem. So, I don't blame Pam Bondi for this problem. I frankly blame the administration and the Senate Republicans for not getting Trump's people appointed. What is the problem here? And that's really what caused all this. Democrat obstruction has been pretty successful.
Talking to William Jacobson, Cornell law professor, legalinsurrection.com. Let me bring you to this. You've got the story there at legalinsurrection.com. Foreign fake MAGA anti-Israel accounts exposed in X location disclosure. Take the time. Walk me through it. What is it that Elon Musk and X have now allowed to take place? What can you see? And what, in your view, and as you're writing about it, what does it expose that people who are utilizing social media as a way of getting news need to know?
Well, for a long time, many of us, including me, have been complaining that what's happening on X is obviously a foreign information operation. It's obvious interference. It's obvious bot activity. None of this is new. And what has happened is that X bases its algorithms and other things on engagement. And the more you get engaged, the more they boost you. And so what you have is you have foreign operations getting their people boosted on X to create a false narrative. And unfortunately, it's been particularly with regard to Israel, but it's also negative towards Trump. And so what you finally had happen, after years of this, you have X turning live a feature where you can see where the account is posting from. Or if they're trying to hide that through a VPN, then it will show you that they're using a VPN, which is a signal they're trying to hide, or could be a signal. And what we found was that there's an entire industry out there of, and I'll break it down into multiple tiers. First of all, fake Gaza war accounts. People supposedly posting from Gaza about atrocities that, of course, never happened. And in fact, now know that they're not in Gaza, they're not in the Middle East. A lot of them are
they're nowhere near
India, Pakistan, Bangladesh. These are operations of, people posting, I'm sitting in a tent in Gaza and 8 children just got killed by Israel. Well, that person's posting from Bangladesh, and in one case from Poland. So these are complete fakery that has created a narrative of genocide and other things in the Israel-Gaza war, which are simply not true. And that has penetrated. That has changed the public consciousness. So those are the fake accounts posting fake information. And then you have the fake MAGA accounts, which are very viciously going after Israel. America first, America only, I can't afford a house because we give $3 billion a year to Israel. All those sort of narratives, which have also penetrated. But it turns out that they're not by real America First accounts. A lot of them are not by people even in the United States. Again, the usual suspects: Nigeria, Bangladesh, India, Pakistan, elsewhere in the Middle East. So what you have is you have stoking of hatred towards Israel by supposedly America First accounts which often say, I'm from Texas and I'm not going to stand, and I don't like the Israel occupation of our government, and I'm in Texas, and the person's actually in Bangladesh, and it's just complete fakery. So you have a real narrative, and I think damage has been done.
Talking to William Jacobson, Cornell law professor, legalinsurrection.com. I agree with you that the damage has been done. Elon's doing this. Was this, I've heard some people say, hey, it was this person's idea or somebody spoke to him about this. This is really a lifting of the veil and more transparency than we've seen from certainly any other social media platform. Before we get just a little bit deeper, is there a belief that this will change how people see or engage with the content that's now out there?
I hope so. I really do hope so. And there's also a third tier of this manipulation, which really has not been exposed by this location data, which is the promotion of certain accounts. So not only do you have fake accounts posting fake news about what's happening in Gaza, what's supposedly the feelings of America First people towards Israel, stoking that, you also have bot accounts that are promoting legitimate American accounts. So we should not be deceived. This is not all foreigners. There are Americans doing this stuff too, and they are getting boosted, and that's not been exposed. What I'd love to see is transparency as to where the people retweeting, reposting, sharing, liking posts are. So, in addition to saying, where is the person posting from, I think it would be great to have a country by country breakdown of who's sharing their content. Because I think what you're going to find is a lot of legitimately American accounts who are nasty people are getting promoted just in the way that these fake accounts promoted themselves. And I think that's really got to be the next thing, because this is a massive disinformation operation. This is a massive manipulation of our country.
I'm not disagreeing, sir. Not at all. You and I are on the same page on this. Is there a legal remedy, or is there an illegal obligation that Elon Musk has and X has to not allowing that to take place? I mean, can you regulate who retweets whom?
Well, criticizing it and exposing it and providing transparency is not the same as preventing it. And so that's a whole different argument. And one of the reasons the rules were relaxed so much is that we saw under the Biden administration pressure on Facebook, pressure on other social media operations to censor content. I mean, I remember in our own account at Legal Insurrection on Facebook, we just avoided posting anything about climate change or COVID or whatever, because they so heavily censored it. We'd get, tagged on it by Facebook, and you get 3 or 4 tags, and all of a sudden they kick you off the platform. So we just avoided it completely because we didn't agree with the popular narrative. And so that's the extreme that people reacted to and said, we should have absolutely no limitations on Twitter and social media. And now we're seeing the byproduct of that is that foreigners have jumped into the void to manipulate systems that have no control mechanism in them. What is the right answer? I think we're heading towards the right answer, and it's transparency. It's don't allow these foreigners to pretend, I'm a redneck from Texas and I don't want my money going to Israel, or I'm not going to die for Israel. Meanwhile, you're sitting in Bangladesh, that sort of stuff. I think transparency is probably the best answer rather than censorship. Now, I do believe that it would be consistent with free speech and free, exchange of ideas for Twitter to say, if you are going to lie about where you are, then maybe that's a violation of our terms. Okay.
Right.
We're not going to censor you for your opinion, but if you're going to conduct fraud on our platform and you're going to misrepresent yourself as being, a farmer in, Missouri, but you're actually just a bot farm in India. That's a misrepresentation. That's a fraud on the platform. And I would like to see that sort of outright fraud and misrepresentation addressed by X, because it's already in their terms of service. They're just enforcing it. I don't think we need opinions censored, but fraud should absolutely be regulated. And I don't know if it's a legal obligation, but it certainly would be in X's interest, because up until recently, and certainly with this exposure, it has now the reputation of being a manipulation device. And I don't think that's what Elon Musk wanted it to be. He wanted it to be a place where people could freely exchange their ideas. Instead, it's a site for rampant fraud.
William Jacobson, Cornell law professor at legalinsurrection.com. I appreciate you taking the time to be with us. More to get to. I'm Tony Katz. This is Tony Katz Today. There it is. Whew. Did not want to let that extend. Good to be here, guys. Tony Katz Today. Boom. There it is. Just that easy. William Jacobson. I'm a fan. He has much to say, and I like to let him go. There is data about where the Republican Party is when it comes to support of President Trump. I will have that for you in just a moment. There we go. Beautiful. All right. So tomorrow, Kira Davis is in. I will be out. I have my morning show, but I'll be out for the midday, and then Thanksgiving we'll be here, and then we'll be back on Monday. That's the plan. That's where we are going to be. And then end of December, I'll be out for a little while. Vacation is good, but I'll have videos on the regular over there on the Substack at TonyKatz.com. So you want to make sure that you are subscribed to TonyKatz.com, and you will get everything. I will bring it all to you. I promise. Every last bit of it. I don't have anything more on the Ukraine deal. Nope. I do not. We'll see what happens. We will see. And that deal might get announced as a big, possibly Oval address on Thanksgiving. I like how there are people in the chat room discussing, of course, this. Trump 1 year later, a red tie gala, my event, that is taking place on January 24th, 2026. It's going to be incredible. The food, the bourbon, the good times. We're going to go over Trump's past year, how this plays out for the midterms, absolutely everything. And if you want to get your tickets right now at WIBC.com, you want to get those tickets immediately. And then I've got people discussing sneaking into the VIP section. That's not going to happen. Did I mention security? Listen to me. All right. This isn't like Columbia University. You get to take over the building. We don't allow that. We don't do that here. So just.
So is the president losing Republicans?
No. Look, this is still Donald Trump's Republican Party, and we can see it here. It's like a rock, to quote Bob Seger. I mean, take a look here. Republicans who approve of Trump. 6 months ago, it was 87%. Now, well, hello, it's the same number. It's 87%. He has not lost any support among Republicans compared to 6 months ago. As I said at the beginning, he's like a rock. He's like a rock. The Republican base is sticking by Donald Trump at this point in time.
Now, the question before us is, if this is the case, what is this idea that things are there's bad morale in the House, Republicans are unhappy, and some of them are going to say, you know what, it's not worth being here anymore, and they're going to go. If the voter is still with them because they're still with Trump, or are we saying, as we have stated here more than once, there's a very large-scale difference between the Trump brand and the Republican brand. And that the support for Trump amongst Republicans is not indicative of support overall. That they won't support their member of Congress if there's some level of disagreement. That is one of the things they will have to work out. One of the things I'll be discussing January 24th, 2026. Trump 1 year later, a red tie gala. You can get your tickets at WIBC.com. Oh, it's going to be an incredible event right here in Indianapolis. Come on out for it. You're going to have a great time. You're going to meet good people. Great bourbon, great food. I promise a good time. Go to WIBC.com and get your tickets. I'm Tony Katz. It's going to be a good time. It's going to be a very good time. I want you to have the most brilliant of Thanksgivings. I want you to enjoy yourself. I want you to have fun. I want you to eat well. And then come back. The live stream will come back on Monday. That's December. What is that? What is that? December 1st? Is that what that is? It's December 1st. The live stream will be back for then. We'll have videos going on over there at TonyKatz.com. You want to get over there and subscribe. It's free. You can be a supporter. I'd appreciate it. Either way, very much so. Go to TonyKatz.com and be a supporter. I appreciate y'all. I just said y'all. Look at me. Look at me like a regular guy. I can't thank you enough. I will be back, of course, on that Monday. I will see you then, guys. Have fun. Enjoy. Be good. Catch you then.